Season 18, serial number 7, number 115 overall, the final episode of Season 18, the final Tom Baker episode. It is Logopolis.
But not in the Lego way.
Logopolis.
Yeah.
Legopolis.
Lego, please.
But it's
Lego.
Logopolis.
When you go to
What is
when you go to
Logopolis?
the store and you ask your mom for the Lego and you're like Lego, please.
Logopolis. What is Logopolis?
When you are 5 and
Why
you
is
go
it
to
called
the store and
Logopolis?
you ask for the Lego, please.
Lego Puss?
Lego, please. Lego,
Lego
please. Lego, please. Mommy, I want the Lego, please. Okay, so I'm stopping.
Lego Puss?
So, hi, Gam. There's a cop trying to use the phone on a police box, and I thought it was the TARDIS, but it wasn't the TARDIS, and he's mumbling into the phone, "Hi, cat," and then the TARDIS swooshes in, and it's not the TARDIS, but it is. It's kind of in the same place, and the phone stops working. Also a cab, and then they kidnap the dude and laugh, and it's weird, and then the doctor is pacing around a garden area, which is part of the TARDIS where he likes to think, and Math is like, what is going on? He's like, don't fucking talk to me, but actually let's talk. And then he tells him like, hey, can you not bother me here? And then we talk about entropy, and apparently Math really wants to go to Gallifrey, and the doctor's like, ugh. And they have questions about they'd have questions about Romana. She's broken huge rules and shit, so let's just go pass some time before we go. Actually, let's go to Earth. So we cut to someone who's a flight attendant, and she keeps forgetting about things. And me and Gab had a conversation about DB Cooper. And then also her aunt can't get the car to turn over, and it's being a bitch. And the attendant is, of course, like, forgetting things, and she seems to be unlucky, but then she's also lucky because when she starts the car, it starts. And the doctor and Math are talking about how boring police boxes are in London, and then apparently the TARDIS's chameleon circuit doesn't seem to want to work right now, but then the catastrophe bell rings, but then it stops ringing, and the stewardess, it's just, I don't care. And the stewardess has...
Cloister bell.
Okay, it's a catastrophe bell. It rings when there's a catastrophe. And they have a flat tire right outside of maybe the TARDIS? I can't really tell. There's like a police box. It'll make sense. The doctor's going to ask Romana, was going to ask Romana to help fix the circuit, but then they never just did it. They didn't have time. Meanwhile, the stewardess is like, I'm fucking fixing this tire myself. And the aunt's like, oh, let's just look helpless and let's get somebody to help us. The doctor's now making a mess with the console, and the doctor's like, we could be a pyramid, but I don't want to be a pyramid. And then we make a police box shape, and Math is like, why shouldn't we be a pyramid? And the doctor thinks that the master still may be around, and the TARDIS swoops next to the police box, and the doctor's like, I guess we missed? And so they make a quick, short hop and become the police box, and the police box is inside of the TARDIS now, and the stewardess is almost done with the tire, but then someone in a full white bodysuit who kind of has, like, a Hitler mustache is
Go on,
watching
say
them.
it.
He has a Hitler mustache. He looks like a white Hitler. It's weird. Like, he has, like, the German-shaped pants. I'm serious. And he has, like, a shadow right below his nose or something. Like a mustache.
German-shaped
Yes, it's a very specific kind of pant where, like, it's very large and then it gets very thin around the knee and which tucks into the boots. I will pull up a reference for you if you want.
German-shaped.
Okay,
pant.
reference coming. Hold on.
No, it's fine. We don't need
Nope, this is happening now.
a reference.
God damn it. Okay. They look like... I'm gonna just send this straight to you. Like that. They're German officer pants. It was a thing. That is what they look like. And that's why I was like,
I mean, kind of, not really. What?
He just had
kind
like
of just
baggy
wearing normal pants. They're just baggy.
It looked like baggy
Like, here, I'll
pants
send you a
tucked into
photo of him.
boots. Listen, there were just a lot of... Okay, listen, it's fine. Anyway, It also looks like a military jacket to me. Don't worry about it. It's fine. It kind of looks like he's
I
just
think
in a
you just
Lycra
really
suit.
wanted to see Hitler.
I think it just looks dumb, personally. Like, the nose shadow is what... It's fine. Anyway. Fine. Anyway, so... They're just saying math stuff back and forth, by the way, and measuring the TARDIS that is inside of the TARDIS. And Stewardess is like, I want to be resourceful and helpful, and the aunt is being a bitch. And then something weird goes on, and the doctor goes outside to figure it out, and sees a broken down car, but he also sees a man in a white suit, and comes back inside only to go into the police box, but it's in another TARDIS, and another police box inside of it, and it's apparently very dangerous. And Stewardess is like, fine, I'll go get a new tire, rolls the flat tire down the road to find a mechanic, but stops at the police box, and she's like, I'm going to use this phone,
This gun.
this phone, and, like, call a mechanic, but the door just kind of opens, and she goes inside, and she's now in the TARDIS. And then the other TARDIS, like, swoops away, sort of, and the door closes, so she's trapped in here, and that kind of sucks. Math is lockpicking into this new TARDIS, while Stewardess is like, oh god, where am I? What is this? And her name is Tegan, by the way, but for the most part of this episode, I just call her the Stewardess. So she's scared as fuck, and hears some noises, and goes into another room, and is scared in that room. And the aunt goes into the, like, tries to go into the TARDIS, but she goes into the other TARDIS? And, like, she gets attacked, maybe? And Math broke into his TARDIS, and it's getting darker in each one, and it's getting more scary, and the catastrophe bell rings in this TARDIS, and Aunt is maybe dead because she was attacked by something in the first and then this time Math is to stay where he is, and Doctor goes outside. Too bad when he goes outside, it's actually outside the TARDIS, and there's police there, ACAB, asking him questions thinking he murdered or fucked up somebody because there's a car here and there's no driver. Don't worry about it. And the doctor is like, well, it's fine. And then the stewardess is running around lost and scared. And the police are like, listen, you're coming with us. And this is why. And we cut to looking inside the car, and there's some small dolls in the front seat. And one of them is the first police officer that got, like, laughed at. And the other is the aunt. And the doctor's like, oh. Yeah.
There's only one person who uses that kind of weapon, even though he hasn't used it in quite a while. It's the master. Oh, Lordy, it's the master. Yeah. So this is Logopolis. A little bit of a note. The policeman using the telephone at the beginning, he doesn't have a name in the script, but in the novelization, his name is PC Donald Seagrave. Don't know why, but Christopher Bidmead decided to just give him that name. Also, he had an inspiration for the recursive loop scene at the end of The Keeper of Traken, because the Master escapes via a TARDIS that's inside the Melka, which itself was also a TARDIS. So he was like, hang on a second, a TARDIS inside a TARDIS? Oh mein Gott! What if I just loop them forever? That'd be an interesting concept. Yeah, also another thing, this is one of... When this episode came out in Blu-ray, on the 13th of March, 2019 only, a special cinema screening of this was shown in select theaters in America. I don't remember what theaters it was, but I remember seeing it being like, why the fuck does America get that? It was very confusing. I don't know why Logopolis as well. I mean, I like Logopolis, but it's like, you'd think like City of Death or something. One that everyone universally loves, whereas Logopolis is not universally loved. It's more, it's here and there. Anyway, Sarah Jane Smith or Leela were considered to return, like I sort of said before in the previous episode. in order to give a familiar face of the Fourth Doctor to go through his regeneration story and ensure a smooth transition. But both Elizabeth Sladen and Louise Jameson declined to return. They're like, okay, well, what can we do instead? Well, we'll have Nyssa, we'll bring her back, and we'll create a new character to be like the other end of the emotional spectrum of range of character. So you have Nyssa, who's sort of intelligent and very reserved. Then you have Tegan, who's not the sharpest tool in the shed, but she is rather wise, and very prone to bursts of outrage and emotion. Not in a, oh my god, women are just so emotional sort of way, but in the kind of Australian way of like, listen, I don't give a shit what's going on here. You are going to answer to me right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Tegan. I love her, I genuinely do. I have a weird personal connection to her, because I, as a young kid, wore a Doctor Who shirt into my dentist appointment once when I was like 15, I think, to a dentist appointment, and my dentist sort of was like, "Oh, Doctor Who," and it was like it was actually the 80s logo, because I love the neon tubing, and he was like, "Oh, did you ever watch the old episodes?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, of course." And he was like, "Oh, my sister was in that show."
Oh.
I was like, "Oh, really?" So her character wasn't just like, oh, she's an Australian from Brisbane, but herself, Tegan Jovanka's actress, is also just from fucking Brisbane as well. She no longer lives in Brisbane. She lives in England, I believe, Janet Fielding. She's great to follow on Twitter, by the way. She tweets some great shit. Her handle is Mouth on Legs, because that's how Tegan was often described by the Fifth Doctor, is she was just a mouth on legs. Because she would never stop talking and yelling at him. But yeah, so this is the introduction. This is Logopolis Part 1. What happened in Part 2?
Well, I scrolled down too much. The math kid comes out to try to figure out what's up and sees the cops being dicks and really wanting to arrest the Doctor. So Math takes the police bike, which is next to the TARDIS, makes a distraction that he got his leg caught in the bike and is screaming, letting the Doctor run away, and then both of them run back to the TARDIS and are worried about that the other TARDIS isn't there for some reason and the bell is ringing. And then he's like, oh god, and the TARDIS has some bad bandwidth for a bit, and the cops are like, alright, let's just go get the cop key, whatever the fuck. And they think they're going to be able to open it, and we're going to jettison Romana's room, and it just kind of makes things better for no reason, but then it kind of doesn't, because the TARDIS is now moving, so something is happening, and the cops are confused. Stewardess is in the thinking room, and everything is fucking weird, and she's like, I hate this. And then the TARDIS shows up thinking, in her thinking room with her, and the Doctor's like, oh god, I do the circuit, maybe the Master took the dad's body, and blah-de-blah-de-blah. Stewardess
Maybe.
is like now looking around the TARDIS that's near her, and she's like, I don't understand. And so the Doctor's gonna shut everything down and literally transport into the Thames to maybe flood everything, or so Math, the Thames, the Thames. I don't know how you how do you Thames?
Thames.
The Tim Tams. Got it. So Math
think Temmie from Undertale. Thames.
So they're gonna teleport into the Tim Tams. So Math does shut everything off, and Stewardess is like, oh, because everything's not working now, and everyone has fallen to the ground. I'm
sorry, what's he like?
The Stewardess went because she's fallen to the ground. Okay. What do you want from me?
Of course.
And everyone else is falling to the
course.
ground because they touched the bottom of the river, I guess. But then the Doctor is like, oh god, block the doors, the water. But there's no pressure. That's weird. And so they look outside, and actually they're on a boat, because they landed on a boat that was in the way. Yeah. Anyway, Stewardess is freaking the fuck out again. There's laughter happening, and she's like, ah, ah. And then we see White Hitler up on top of the bridge, watching them down on the river, and Math is gonna stay here and mind the boat while the Doctor runs up all the way to the bridge very quickly to have a chat with him. And we don't hear the chat, we just kind of watch it, and then he comes back. And Tegan is having a fucking breakdown at this point, and gives it one more attempt to leave. But then a tree kind of shows up in the middle of the room as she leaves, and he's like, hey, that was just some dude. We need to be prepped for the worst. We're going to Logopolis. Don't worry about it. Math is like, that was the master, yeah? And he's like, what? Don't guess that. Like, making guesses gets you killed. What the fuck? And then something, the entropy holding the universe together. And then the TARDIS materializes, and it's hanging in the sky above Logopolis, and it's fine, and it's fine. And Doctor's like, I'm splitting up with you. And Math is like, no, you can't. And then Stewardess shows up, and she's like, who the fuck is in charge? And Logopolis is there. It's just a bunch of really old men in robes doing math. That's their whole thing. The TARDIS apparently rematerialized on the ground, which sure. And then the Doctor is confused as fuck, and then realizes that the Stewardess's aunt was turned into a doll, and he's like, oh. Ooh.
Nope.
And the tree in the thinking room swooshes out, materializes on Logopolis, and then they all leave the TARDIS, and they're like, oh, we're honored to have you here, and we're honored to be here, and just to have a very general chat about life and entropy, and how are you? And the Doctor asks him to have help with the TARDIS's chameleon circuit while everyone is doing math and data. And then, let's do this immediately, I guess, while we walk into a research room. But he's like, you don't use computers, though. Why are there computers? And he's like, don't worry about it. And he's like, okay, give me those dimensions, and starts to chant at the computer, and everyone on the planet is helping do more math outside to, like, work together. Too bad, someone is turning everyone outside into dolls, like a couple guys. So, that's not good. Meanwhile, we get the stats for the circuit, and he realizes something, the Pharaoh's project. They saved it, and is this room, it's a perfect model at the place, including time and space, and then everyone leaves and has a nice chat together, and the Doctor pulls the monitor leader dude aside and says, hey, can you look after the kids for me? I gotta go. And he's like, yeah, sure, but like, what the fuck? And he goes into the TARDIS and leaves them the fuck alone, and the kids are like, wait, he's in danger? What? And Stewardess is fucking pissed that she cannot get to work. Princess, from that one episode, like 2 episodes ago, who's...
Last episode.
Yeah, last episode, whose dad is the master now, is here. And she's like, someone brought me here for some reason. And then the TARDIS starts to fuck up and get smaller for some weird reason. And Math goes, but the Doctor's in there! And it's just like, but it's bigger.
But what?
But it's bigger on the inside, so don't worry about it. It's fine.
Well, unless, of course, it's affecting the internal dimensions.
Anyway.
So, technically this is the first story to feature a human companion, since Leela left the Doctor in the Invasion of Time, but it's also the first to feature one from contemporary Earth since Sarah Jane left in The Hand of Fear, because Romana was not human, and Leela wasn't from Earth, initially. Bit weird. Logopolis also comes from 2 ancient Greek words, meaning city of speech, alluding to the oral calculations recited by the Logopolitans. I can never say it. Logopolitans. I can never say it.
The Lego people.
The Lego people. The Lego people. When the Doctor reveals that the sort of keyboard that allows him to edit the chameleon circuit, this is kind of the first instance in which the chameleon circuit can be manually overridden, so there's no need for an automatic system. But it's stuck on the police box, so that's what they stay with anyway. Which is interesting because Christopher Bidmead, the script editor and writer for this episode, was a keen computer enthusiast and used many ideas from computer science in developing his scripts, with elements such as the monitor, block transfers, and registers all being derived from terminology and computer architecture. And he was eager to inject Doctor Who with real scientific notions. Bidmead also drew upon the physics discipline of thermodynamics, making heavy use of the concept of entropy, a measure of unavailable energy in a system, which effectively increases as a system becomes homogeneous. He got a lot of the ideas and language of the story from taking apart and looking at the inner workings of his vector graphics MZ system. So yeah, entropy this is the episode where entropy really takes hold. The basic through line is entropy is a destructive force that is inevitable. The people of Logopolis are holding back entropy. Hijinks ensue. Also, John Nathan Turner noticed that a real police box stood still on the Barnet bypass in London. Bidmead was fascinated with the TARDIS, and he wanted to explore its properties more fully. So the Barnet bypass police box is one of the last left in the country. Sadly, the real police box was vandalized before production started, so they had to use a prop one instead. They couldn't use an actual real police box, which is what they wanted. Mm-hmm. Which is a shame. But yeah, what happens in the next part, dear?
Well, White Hitler's here, and he just kind of walks off, and the TARDIS is dollhouse-sized, and they're going to just take it to the central register, and I hate this because we already established that the TARDIS is, like, unmovable and weighs a fuck ton, but whatever.
Okay, you want me to get into that? Because there is a thing about that.
Fine, go ahead.
Because you asked the question, how much does the TARDIS weigh? I forget where it's answered, but the Doctor essentially always responds with, as much as it needs to. If you had the true weight of the TARDIS on something, it would go straight, it would crack a planet, because it's so heavy. Mm-hmm. But the TARDIS can obviously change its dimensions and change how much it weighs. It can weigh as little as a normal like a normal wooden police box, or as much as it wants. So basically, it's however it weighs as much as the script needs it to. Because if the script does not want the TARDIS to move, then the TARDIS doesn't move.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It still bugs me. Can I just say?
Yeah, that's fair.
Anyway, they move it. The Doctor's like, I need to dematerialize, but I can't get up or move. And the Doctor's having just literally a bad PCP trip while everyone is trying to talk to him through the screen. Math asks to help, and they go, actually, you know what? Yeah, you could help. Read these lines of code and math and stuff. And then they walk around and talk while looking at various men in robes. Somewhere, they need someone. Something's wrong. What happened? Not everything can be done with computers, he says. Literally, we change the world with our math, so computers are out. Abacus? Mm-hmm. In. Absolutely the coolest shit. I did forget the word abacus up until right now. So time...
You know what's a cool word? Abacus.
So time to go to the streets while we make a stasis zone around the TARDIS and try to stabilize it. Stewardess thinks everyone here is being exploited, and she's just like, I fucking hate this. And, you know, honestly, same. And we are all, but I mean, different reasons. We're also looking for these people that, like, fucked up, but then Math is like, no, wait, the computer was wrong. Look at these numbers. And while running back, we check and find the men that have been turned into dolls, and he goes, oh my god, we have been sabotaged and murdered.
You want to sabotage?
Some saba-murder. Murdertage. Whatever you call it. Math saw Hitler walking around for a bit and was like, but then Math is back and goes, look, these need to be changed, so we have to show the Doctor the code and then he'll figure it out. And Math is wandering around with the princess. He's like, I want to find the master? Maybe? And she's like, I also maybe want to find the master. You know, And Tegan just kind of stays there. And the Doctor is having a fucking trip and gets to sit there and wait until he sees the numbers on the TV. And he's like, oh, I've got it. And the kids talk for a bit, and then Hitler walks by in the background. And now Doctor is able to fix the TARDIS. And Stewardess is like, listen, look at me. Look at this. This is a sweatshop. Fuck you. And then Princess finds her father, who is the master, by the way, and he's like, ha ha ha, and gives her a bracelet. And he explains that he really needs to just talk through math and shit. And the princess is like, wait, I want you to come home.
Maybe.
I miss you. And he's like, don't worry about it. So no one saw me. Don't tell anyone. Keep this bracelet. Don't worry about it. And the doctor is informed about that the kids went to look for the master. And he's like, God damn it. Oh, by the way, stewardess, your aunt was murdered. And she's like, oh shit. And then the princess and Math are like, hey, and Math, she almost chokes Math out for a bit, and she doesn't really know why. Meanwhile, in turning more people into dolls and stealing the stasis thingy from them, making everyone stop doing the math that they were doing. And the doctor comes across White Hitler, and he's the one that brought the princess. So it's like, okay, that's, And then the doctor's like, wait, do you hear that? Gam, do you hear that? It's the sound of silence. Logopolis is silent, Gam. No one is doing math. The abacuses are not moving. It's terrible.
The abacus abacate anymore.
It's the abacate. Apparently the... Thank you.
Oh my god, do you hear that, dear? Logopolis is silent.
Anyway, the doctor was never the target, it was Logopolis, and the master is like, I'm basically making entropy and fucking everything up, woo! And the doctor shows up and goes, sorry, hun, but your dad is dead, and actually this is his body, and it's being used by the master, so everyone you know is dead, kind of. Everyone you love is dead. And then everyone is accusing the doctor of just legit destroying the universe because Logopolis is the keystone to the entire fucking universe. They literally, keep entropy in check. Math tries to stop the machine, but then Princess chokes him out because the master can control her through the bracelet, but only her single arm. Just the arm. Stewardess then attacks the master and gets shoved away, so okay, I guess we're destroying the entire universe. Also, we can't switch the device off, because we can switch the device off and everything turns back to normal. And then he does it and he's like, wait, oh fuck, it didn't work. And then everything is turning to dust and destroying itself as soon as the master did shit. And he thinks it's actually bullshit and fake, and he's like, they're just tricking me. And so he uses the princess to choke out the leader dude, but entropy is fucking up the master's stuff too, so the bracelet just falls apart. And they keep talking about how Logopolis is entirely collapsed. And the leader is like, this is why we have the computer, but it's all kind of pointless now. More shit is collapsing. The stewardess is like, you're a fucking cunt, Master's a fucking cunt, by the way. So I guess the master and the doctor will be working together. So the doctor throws a fucking fit about how he's just had so many stowaways his entire fucking life, and he's never been able to choose who comes with him. And he fucking hates it. And then the TARDIS shows up, and he shoves everyone in there, and he's like, I guess I'm gonna work with the master, and they do a handshakey.
They do a handshakey. They're working together. So, Tom Baker recalled on the DVD commentary for the episode that he was dreading leaving the series and was pretty angry the whole time on shoot. And you can kind of tell, because throughout this whole episode, he's kind of just, depressed, dour and angry.
Mm-hmm.
More than the Doctor. I don't think the Doctor smiles once during this. He couldn't take comments or direction from anyone. Janet Fielding confirms that he was angry with everybody. And John Nathan Turner claimed that when Baker had finished his last scene, he quietly slipped away without a word. Also, in the beginning, when Tegan comes out of the house, they actually couldn't locate the owner of the original house that they were meant to use. So instead, they just moved further up the same street to the home of Andrew McCullough, who had co-written Megalos earlier that year, and were just like, "Hey, can we use your house real quick?" Thankfully, he said yes. Thankfully, they said yes, so we were all good. Another thing as well. So as we've discussed, this is Tom Baker's final one, so he does regenerate at the end of this. During one of the takes that they did of the regeneration, Tom Baker, laying down, turned to Matthew Waterhouse, who plays Adric, and said, Adric, you're a cunt, and you always will be.
Fantastic.
which is just great. He really was just not doing good. Also, the Doctor was supposed to scream as he fell to his death. Tom Baker disagreed, as he felt it would be unheroic. He was unhappy with the fact that the final image the viewers would see of his Doctor would be him lying prone, being photographed from above. But, I mean, mate, you checked out from the show like a year ago. You don't get to really decide. But yeah, what happens in the final part, dear?
Well, Leader Monitor is gone. But he wouldn't abandon them, so, like, where'd he go? Tegan is like, nah, I'm fucking out of here. I need the Doctor. I'm leaving. So she leaves the TARDIS. Math goes back into the TARDIS, and then it swooshes away. And the Doctor has made his way back to the monitor, throws the leader is working on the computers. And the code that has come out is enough to start looking for an answer, and they have to realign stuff with space, and Tegan shows up, and she's like, hi, how do I help? And the entire conversation for a while is this them just saying math that I don't understand, I'm sorry. And space shit. And space shit, science shit.
Do you want me to explain it?
No, I really don't. You could explain it when I'm done. The leader basically disappears in a death. He, like, poofs away through a green screen, and the Master is just like, I'm out. And Tegan could help the Doctor, because the Master was right about the thing of the two TARDISes. Cone. Maybe the Master is dead again, because when he went to his TARDIS, a rock fell on him. And the Doctor's like, wait, I know where to find a computer on Earth. Where's the Master's TARDIS? So, Math and Hitler is watching Hitler disconnect the TARDIS from a bunch of stuff, and they're being taken out of all of time and space, I guess? And then the Master isn't dead, because it's fine. Because we pull the rock off of him, and he's like, I guess it's time for us to help you to get to Earth. And the kids come back into time-space, but it's outside time-space, and it's weird. And the white dude is apparently named the Watcher. Back at when his computer was first invented, the Pharos project?
Pharos.
Okay, that was close.
Ancient Greek meaning lighthouse.
Yeah. They show up, and the Master's TARDIS is like a pillar. But there's a dude there working on the computers, like, with headphones on. So, like, what do they do about that? And the Master pulls out a gun! No, wait, it's actually a thing to help fix things. The dude has headphones on, so he can't hear anything. But then the Master actually pulls out a gun. And the Doctor throws him to the side and knocks him unconscious, which, like, just makes this kind of easier, honestly. I kind of agree. Honestly, it makes things a lot easier. You don't have to explain shit, just knock him out, do what you need to do, save the world. The kids are walking around and talking about entropy, and we see the Watcher wanting to talk to Adric. So they work on the computer for a bit after, they have some banter, and the Watcher spoke to Math. Wow, I actually called him Adric, not Math. And we don't get to hear what was said.
You're warming up to him.
We don't really get to hear what was
Called
said.
him by his real name.
I don't know about that. Trying to find my place again is always fun. And he's like, I know what's gonna happen. And then on the scanner, we see just, like, the entire universe, like, all of it. And they're beyond it, so they basically see the entropy ring of whatever. And the princess goes, wait, where's Earth? And if you actually understand in any capacity the size of the fucking universe, you'd be like, you could not even see it. You would not even be able to.
Scanner zoomed in.
But then, the scanner zooms in and she's like, oh, there it is. And then she sees Traken. And she has a Princess Leia moment because Traken is gone now. And she's like, I'm homeless.
Blonsky.
And everyone I know is gone. My mom is dead. My dad is dead. And fucking Master's a cunt. And then Math does some stuff and they go back and land on Earth near a giant satellite dish. And the kids head out and see some cops. And then the Doctor and computer are running and the stewardess is worried about the guards and how to get to the antenna. And they're like, well, we could take the Master's TARDIS. And he's like, nah. And then we have a sneaky, like, borderline spy movie running around bit for a while, and then they get seen by the guards. It's not even a spy movie. It's more like a thief trying to break into something, if that makes sense, like a Mission Impossible sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's very silly. And the kids just are kind of watching from afar, and the doctor hides behind a shed, and his fucking coat should have given him away because it got caught down a tree. Like, legitimately. And then Tegan runs off, and she's like, I'm gonna make a distraction! Look at me, cops! Woo! Look at me! I have boobs! And the master wants his dildo gun back, so he runs off to go get that. And the doctor is running up the antenna as fast as possible, and the master's back at the computer room. And the doctor is up in the antenna, but then also the master's here? He's like, yeah, I decided to take my TARDIS. And then they need to connect the cord and everything will be done. And the master leaves for a second to record an announcement for the entire universe, but we don't hear it fully. And then he comes back inside, and the master's like, listen, go check on your friends. It'll be fine. The universe is totally not hanging on a thread. But then he sends out that message, and it basically says either listen to the master forever and obey him, or I'll destroy the entire universe. Also, I have a dildo gun, so fuck you. And the doctor runs off, trips the master with his scarf by leaving it on the ground, making the dildo get dropped. So instead, the master runs inside and pushes a button to make the dish rotate and make him a PNG. And the doctor has to make it to the other side, and maybe he's okay. If he just hits the wires with the wrench or pulls this plug, it's fine. And then he's hanging by the plug for his life, and he's like, oh my god. And which ensues an entire fucking flashbacks of everyone who's ever called him the doctor who is his enemy. And he can't hold on, and he falls to his death, I guess. And then the cops come in because, you know, they were...
It's a large fall.
Yes. The cops come into the antenna, and the master's gone. So, ooh, okay, I guess that's done. And then we think back on all of our friends we made along the way who also are going, Doctor, 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 Dr. Metal Alchemist, Dr. Metal Alchemist. Anyway, and the doctor's like, this is at the end. I'm prepared for this. And what?
It's so good. Keep going.
And the Watcher shows up, and he's like, I was the doctor the whole time, which makes a regeneration happen, and he's got a new face.
A younger face. The youngest face ever to play the Doctor at the time. So, real quick, a few things. So, I want to clarify on the Watcher. So, the Watcher... the Watcher was like a... Because they do regeneration different. Every new showrunner does regeneration different. It's not like New Doctor Who where it's like, okay, we know they put on regeneration glowing golden effect number 2. Back in the old one, it was like, oh shit, we have new effects to play with. And it's kind of... They always wanted the Watcher to basically be the next iteration of the Doctor. But they wanted it to be kind of vague. And they kind of wanted you to assume that he was somehow also the Master. Mm-hmm. So that's why, like, Adric keeps accusing him of being the Master. It's like, no, it's not. It's also why they hold off showing the Master until episode 3. Sorry, I just got hiccups.
Ooh.
Great. Why do I have hiccups? So, anyway.
I believe if you go, like, really quickly, it should help.
I could also just drink a shit ton of water.
That too.
That worked.
It basically is just resetting your diaphragm.
So, essentially, there's been several definitions of what the Watcher actually is. There's a novel, Divided Loyalties, which posited that Watchers were a common phenomenon tied to Time Lord regeneration. They were essentially projections of alternate versions of a regenerating Time Lord, insubstantial phantoms of what might have been and what might yet be, who come into existence thanks to temporal significance of a Time Lord changing identities. It suggested, although the Watcher was an emanation from the Doctor, he was not necessarily an emanation of the Fifth Doctor as such. But it was kind of more... Other sources have kind of solidified that, like, the Watcher is essentially the next iteration of the Time Lord, going like, hey, I'm here to help you on a little bit, because like you're gonna need some help with this like regenerating business, so I've manifested to force my way into your body.
Yeah.
They kind of make it vague as to what the conversations they had with Adric and the Doctor were. But yeah, another thing as well, at a celebration of Doctor Who, Tom Baker was asked why he left the series. He replied that he was pushed by Anthony Ainley as a joke, because, you know, the Master essentially pushed the Doctor off the telescope, so the radio transmitter, so it's a funny joke. No, we all know the real story. Tom Baker is one of those actors where it's like, man, he's really great, and then you look behind the scenes and it's like, man, he was kind of a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
I still don't know if age has tempered him and made him easier to work with. I hope so, because he, back in the day, all the stories we've talked about, he was kind of a real asshole. A real prima donna on set, but now it's changed. Now it's Peter Davison, who was the youngest ever actor to play the Doctor, which caused a lot of outrage at the time. Because remember, the original posit of the show was that it was an old man with a young companion teaching around, but now the whole TARDIS team is young. We got like essentially old teenagers, and Tegan's meant to be 21. And the Doctor is played by an incredibly young man who was also on another popular show at the time, All Creatures Great and Small. So it's like, oh, wow, we're really shaking things up now. And we have 3 companions again, which has not happened since 1960.
Is the princess now a companion?
Yep, she's joining him now. Well, she can't go home.
I know. I just don't really like her that much. It's fine.
She gets a lot better. I forgot how, like, kind of stilted and boring she is in these first 2 episodes.
She's like a little
She doesn't really have a character.
Pixie, and it's weird.
She gets a lot better when she changes her clothes.
We'll get there.
We'll get there eventually. But that was Logopolis. The 4th Doctor's era is now over. We're done. We're 4th Doctor, now into the 5th Doctor. We're nearly done with the classic season, dear.
So, unironically, what number do you think I gave this for the end of the 4th?
I think you gave it probably a 2 or a 3. I think you got pissed off by all the scientific. Okay.
There were parts of it that I did enjoy, that, like, the entire dudes were, like, math for the entire universe. I thought that was interesting. There was so much shit that pissed me off that it made it fairly low. But, like, at the same time, there were nice bits.
It's a really good story that I feel like they just needed to change the script slightly. Like, if someone else was script editing this, they would have gone, Christopher, what you've included is really good, but you've convoluted it a little bit too much. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, and it's set up the way you want a Doctor Who episode to be set up. Episode 1, entirely on Earth and within the TARDIS. Episodes 2 and 3, we go between Earth to Logopolis, and from Logopolis back to Earth in a different location. And then episode 4, it's all Earth and dealing with the consequences of shit. It's like every episode you're in somewhere new, you're not just standing around in the same corridor saying the same thing. Even though you kind of do for episodes 2 and 3, but the problem is you don't really notice it unless the dialogue starts to annoy you, which it kind of does if you don't fully understand what they're saying, or if you're just like, I don't care what they're saying. Because basically, so here's the whole thing. Logopolis is a place where they do block transfer computation. What's block transfer computation? It's essentially using math to change the matter of the universe. How? Doesn't matter. It just does. Don't look into it, because that was the problem of this episode, is they go into detail of how it does it, and it's like, you're confusing everyone. Just say, you use math to change matter.
Don't think about it.
Yeah. And so, the whole plot of the episode is they've got a secret project that they're doing, and the Master wants to find out what it is. Turns out, entropy, the inevitable force of the universe that is degrading and destroying entropy is a universal constant. Everything is constantly slowly falling apart and breaking and decaying. That's entropy. It's very existentially disturbing and can really make you depressed to think about. So don't think about it. But that's the biggest theme of this. Is okay. The citizens of Logopolis learnt that the amount of entropy in the universe at one point had surpassed the point of collapse of the universe, meaning there was so much entropy in the universe, it would overtake everything and everything would start to decay faster and faster and faster. So they were like, oh shit, we got to do something about this. So what they did was they used their math powers to create the CVEs, the tunnels to other universes, to basically channel the entropy there while they worked on a permanent solution to like keep the CVEs open to channel the entropy somewhere else so the universe could keep going. That's it. That's all it was. It's just, shit, we need to vent this entropy somewhere else so the universe doesn't fall apart. And then the Master comes in like, I'm going to stop what you're doing because I want to know what you're doing. And they're like, you've just doomed the universe because we were holding back all this entropy and now you've just released it and now it can't be stopped. Yeah. And that's it. That's the episode. But he convolutes it by getting so much into detail of how it works, how the math turns into matter that you go, I don't understand any of this. Like, because the first few times I watched it, I didn't understand it at all. I was like, what are you saying? But it wasn't until other things that I finally was like, okay, I get it. Why did you describe it like this?
I have a question.
Answer is coming.
So, like, they talk about how the plug into that computer basically is protecting the entire world and it's hanging on a thread, right?
Yes.
So, literally, if anyone at all fucked with that plug at any time, everything's fucked again. So they just leave it and we don't worry about it?
Well, here's the thing. At that point, they have saved the universe. They've stopped the entropy and they've implemented the permanent solution that the citizens of Logopolis were working on. So now, like, they've beamed the message into the CVE and now it's open permanently. And so, like, they could disconnect it now and it's all safe. What the Master was going to do is, if you sent a pulse down that beam that they had currently sent, it would instead do the exact opposite and close the CVE forever, meaning the entropy would just continue until the universe is destroyed. So he was like, hey, right now, we've saved the universe, but I could destroy it all in a second if I wanted to. So that's why he sends the message, being like, hey, you could all live or you can all die right now. Be under my rule. Because my initial thought when I was watching it first was like, wait, if they need this to keep running, why did they just turn the scope to kill the Doctor? It's no longer pointing at the place where they pointed it, so it's not going to be sending it anymore. It's like, oh, because it doesn't need to be continuously sending, it just needed to get there once. Because that was the permanent solution. Rather than the temporary one that Logopolis was working on. Okay. Again, a few changes to the script, and it would have been like that would have been more prominent and obvious. Because it took me a while to understand that too. It's again, this is why you have a script editor, and this is one of the reasons why you don't have the script editor write an episode, because then there's no one looking over their shoulder going, okay, this is a good idea, but it needs to be fully formed. But anyway, that's Logopolis. The next episode, you're not going to be able to guess it because it's all one word again, and it's not a real word. Castrovalva. What is Castrovalva? Who is Castrovalva? I don't know. We'll find out, I guess. The Fifth Doctor is here.
Oh, okay.
Ooh. Ooh.
Okay.
Ooh. Anything else you want to add, dear?
He's not really attractive.
The Fifth Doctor?
Yeah. To my standards, at
Oh,
least.
he's handsome.
To my standards.
He's British handsome.
Yeah, that's a good way to put
He's
it.
British handsome. He's okay, but if you're not into British people, it's like, yeah, that's alright.
Yeah,
I'm
honestly, I'm just not into British people at all. Too much, taking over other countries, stealing their shit, taking it back to the museum, claiming it as theirs. Just not into that.
You want to talk American?
I didn't say I was.
Castrovalva.